I'm Kamika Dillard, certified ACC professional coach and CEO of S.A.V.E Forward Coaching. At S.A.V.E Forward Coaching, professional growth isn't one size fits all. That's why we've created 3 ways to support you. DOT for building clarity and direction, RISE for resilience and intentional action, and VISION for long-term strategy and leadership. Each program is designed to help you move through setbacks with confidence and clarity and create momentum that lasts. No pressure, no hustle, just real progress. Ready to explore what's possible? Book a free discovery call at S.A.V.E.forwardcoaching.com. Welcome to the Black Women Will Say Black Women podcast, the podcast where we support, amplify, validate, and elevate Black women always. I'm your host, Kamika Dillard, and this is your sanctuary, a space built on the belief that when Black women show up for each other, they don't just survive, we save. All right, y'all, this week's Fail Forward File. I've noticed a pattern in myself, and I don't love it, and actually, I need to name it, because one of my line sisters called me out about it. I am running at 1,000,000 miles per hour. I'm always running at 1,000,000 miles per hour, but it's working against me really, really bad right now. I push, I grind, I keep going. I don't stop until my body forces me to. And I'll tell myself, oh, I'll rest later. Oh, after this deadline, after this launch, after this meeting, after, does not matter. And when the break finally comes, usually in the form of like a mini vacation or a getaway, I'm so exhausted that I can't even enjoy where I'm at for the first few days because I've run myself into the ground. I'm in this beautiful space and my body is like, okay, girl, you got us here. Now we're about to rest because you don't listen and you refuse to let us rest throughout the entire week leading up before a vacation, etc. My mind is fried and rest feels just like another task right now that I don't have the capacity for. And that's when it hit me really literally yesterday. My vacations aren't rest. It's recovery from burnout. And I don't want to operate in that space because it becomes a cycle, y'all. We just keep going and going, and we're in this vicious cycle of I'm going to work until my next vacation. I'm going to work until my next break. And you know what winds up happening is like you're not just running yourself towards like tired and exhaustion. You're running yourself to burnout. So I recognize that, and I recognize that mainly because my patience has been getting really short. And what I keep saying during this season is that I need to slow down so that I don't get burnt out. Slowing down is an act of self-respect. If I arrive to spaces where I am burnt out, where I don't actually have energy enough to be present, I am being disrespectful to the people that I'm sharing space with, and most importantly, to myself. So the lesson for me right now in all this is that rest is mandatory. It is not just something that we put to the side and worry about later. So as you're listening to this, just remember like rest is not optional, it's mandatory. And that's this week's Fail Forward File. All right, we have a really special guest today. Today, I'm joined by Samantha Cook, founder of Inside the Cubicle Career Coaching and Consulting. After more than a decade at Amazon and Microsoft leading upskilling programs and career pivots, Samantha was fired in March of 2025, and that moment became her turning point. Within 30 days, she launched Inside the Cubicle, and within 60 days, secured a partnership with the University of Washington. Now a top-rated career coach and AI optimization specialist, Samantha helps professionals turn career disruption into leverage. Let's welcome to the sanctuary, Samantha Cook. Hey, girl.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. What an introduction.
I'm so excited to have you. So I've known Sam since our days at Microsoft. We were at Microsoft at the same time, and I looked up one day because we worked on Blacks at Microsoft for one of like the ERG stuff. And I looked up one day and I was like, man, I ain't seen Sam in a minute. But you know, you have your head down. There's a lot of things going on. You don't even notice. And then I was like, dang, I really ain't seen Sam in a minute. And then I hit up one of our coworkers and they were like, yeah, Sam ain't here no more. And I'm like, what happened? And they were like, man, I don't know. So I like that. One thing that just sticks out when you reached out to me and you were like, hey, I want to be on the podcast. And you were like, I want to tell my story because I was not laid off. I was fired. And I love that you were just like, I'm not gonna hold shame behind being fired. Like, it happened. I'm naming it. So many Black women don't like to say they were fired. Oh, we transitioned. Where does this power come from for you naming what actually happened to you as being fired?
Yeah. Listen, being fired, first of all, there was shame and there was guilt. And also for a lot of us, as we know, I feel like I've been the kid in my family who always has it together and seems like they're doing whatever the American dream says we're supposed to do. And so there was shame and guilt. And rest assured that I cried like a baby right after I got off of that call with my manager when she said, hey, we're letting you go. And I've also never had a job in my adult life. But the power for me was 2 weeks before I got fired, my manager had mentioned to me that out of nowhere, all of a sudden I'm having performance issues. And my mindset was, Samantha, we're going to be positive. We are going to ramp up this network that you have. We're going to ramp up this relationship. And whether it's true or not, we're going to believe, whether it's true or not, that your manager really does want to see you win. And instead of you going tit for tat, you are going to be the Robin to her Batman, or to their Batman, I should say. And you're just going to give this everything you got. And 2 weeks before I was fired, I called my mom and I told her I was nervous but I also told her, I have just delivered so much stuff that there's no way that they could let me go. They're adopting all the things that I'm delivering, and I'm being invited to these rooms and this meeting outside of maybe my leadership's control because it's going well. So just like everybody else, I usually, before this, thought that if you're fired but you do the right thing, that I don't know if I really gave into the politics and believed the story that bad things could happen to good people at work. I don't know if I believe that. So the power for me in being fired, the biggest thing was when I was fired, I cried. Maybe a day or two, I was like, what are we going to do? But I also wanted to launch this career coaching business probably for half a decade. I had been thinking about doing it, but didn't have something happen. So have something that allowed me to do that. So a couple of things had happened. One is, when I was fired, one of the first people I called was my best friend. And my best friend told me, you have been thinking about starting a business forever, and you weren't going to do it because you were in this financially cushy job that your family's proud of you being in, that the world would, your resume looks great, and you weren't going to do it. So this is the universe ripping the Band-Aid off. Number one. Number two, I made an announcement on LinkedIn, and I had C-suite folks coming up to me and noticing that I was gone. I'm sure that a couple of them were nosy, but it was the first time I realized my work mattered. It was the first time I realized that you were doing work that was moving stuff forward. People liked working with you, and they actually notice when you're gone. That hadn't happened to me before. And so what it allowed me to do was be fired with a clean heart. And that really mattered to me. And that enabled me to remember a couple of things. If Microsoft thinks you're worth what they were paying you, which was nice.
Very nice.
You're worth much more. You're worth much more. Then I thought about our politics and I thought, well, heck, if he could do it, if he could get voted in, the sky's the limit for me. If he could do it, anybody could do it. So being fired is a part of my story, and I'm happy that it happened to me. And I'm also looking forward to people watching me struggle so I can win. Yes, I was angry, but really anger is sadness. I was sad. And I gave it everything I got. And I got to a place where my revenge is success. It's always been that way. It's never going to change. So I want you to watch me sweat right now. I want you to see me embarrass myself and cringe all the way up the mountain. Because when I get down it, and I always get down it, I always get down it. At this age, I trust myself. I've failed a lot. I've trust myself into success. And so watch me go down the mountain and watch me sweat and look ugly and crazy going up. And now I don't care anymore after I got fired. And when I stop caring, whoo,
I
watch out.
I love it. You said so many like things. I want to kind of pick away at a few things that you said. One, you called your friend, and if it resonates with me that you called your friend, and your friend was like, "Oh, now this is an opportunity for you to start something new." It resonates with me because when I called my mom when I was laid off, about to get on a plane to go to my sorority's national convention, I called my mom, and she says to me, "Oh, well, you took that laptop for no reason, so I guess, you don't have to work on vacation." And it's like this different spin on what has happened to you that in the moment feels very, very devastating. So I know that everyone, I think when you tell people what has happened, everyone has maybe a different perspective than you have had in the moment. How were you able to digest what your friend was telling you right in that moment to pivot maybe sooner than later?
Ooh, that's a good question. You
Because,
know, Kamika,
go ahead, I'm sorry,
well, I was going to say, you know what? At this age, I'm in my mid 30s.
baby.
Friendship, you're trying every decade. I think you are manage your relationships with your friends, your parents, your job. They change every decade, and you're trying to figure that out. And this friend is a friend of mine that I've known since sixth grade. One of them. I only have one or two childhood friends in that regard. So I say that to say I knew that she loved me, and we had been through some stuff. Um, so I think that mattered in that regard. And also I needed, to your point about when you go against the grain or go against the status quo, um, you won't find a lot of people that support you the way that you need. So I could say I'm really close to my parents. I love both of them. I love my family members. I also understand that there's part of my family that simply is not going to get it, and they're not going to give me the acceptance that I want, but I know they love me. I know they do. And that's taken a long time for me to develop that. But I've done a lot of inner work and also struggled to get to that place where I can really build my village. But I had been in a good place with them at that point.
So when you were first fired, and I want to, I'm saying it because we have to make a distinction between when you're fired versus when you're laid off from the big tech company. I know we've already named it, but if a clip gets out, when I was laid off, I received severance, benefits, all the things. What did you get when you were fired?
I know we talked about this a little, and I just for the audience to know, this is a day-to-day thing with me, but I didn't receive anything. And when I was fired, it was maybe a 15-minute phone call. My manager did not bring HR into the call, and I think that's because they knew that I've never been combative. I don't really push back necessarily. So I think they felt comfortable not bringing in HR. And I asked two questions. Can you tell me more about severance and insurance? Because I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I've been diabetic since the age of 3 or 4. And I take insulin on a daily basis. And no matter how healthy or thin or fat I am, that's always going to be the case. So to hear nothing was hard. This being said, going back to my one of my best friends and me knowing that my purpose is to be my own business owner and chart my own path outside of corporate, I had done some things 10 years in advance. There were some things I wanted to do. I wanted to buy a home. I wanted to be a homeowner. I wanted to make sure that I had little debt, so I paid off my car and never bought a new one, even though I thought about buying my BMW X7 with 4 miles or less 100 million times. And I made sure one of the biggest things, right, when you work at these FANG companies or the top 7 or these big companies, they're usually going to give you stock options. So when I got my first adult job in big tech at Amazon the first 7 years, I used those restricted stock units to buy my house and pay off my car. And when I got to Microsoft the last 4 years, I transferred my 401k over, which gave me a cushion, and I didn't touch any of my stock ever. And I stayed there the full 4 years, meaning they vested. So the main thing was I had enough money to take a risk on myself.
Okay. So from a money perspective, you listen, we got our stock, and I'll be the first to say I didn't spend some of my stock. I ain't got as much as I wish I would have kept because I was there for 7 years. I wish I would have kept some of it, but it is what it is. But did you have like your traditional 6 months saved up, all that stuff when you were let go?
I had about 3 months of cash. I
Okay.
had about 3 months of cash. And also, shout out to my papa. My grandfather had died 6 months before I was fired, give or take. Me and him were extremely close.
Mm,
He was ecstatic when I got my job at Microsoft, and we have a strong relationship in his death. And he's probably the biggest, he took me to get my first library card. He's the biggest advocator for me that I will probably ever meet. I love my parents. They advocate for me too, but they're not my papa. And he um, was always the guy to say pay yourself first when it came to savings and things of those nature. So I say all that to say he gave me when he died, I had an inheritance.
okay.
What did I do? Paid off my student loans. I paid off all of my student loans. Do I regret that now? A little bit. Because now I think, girl, you could have just let that, you could have just had the minimum go. But I say all that to say he gave me about 3 or 4 months worth of savings in addition to those restricted stock units.
Girl, because we over here is team fuck these student loans. Yes, I said it. We are team over here, fuck these student loans. You get your money when you get your money, okay? No,
I'm with you.
I love that your grandfather set you up for, he probably had no clue what was going to happen before he transitioned, but the love and care that he took to, make sure that his baby girl was taken care of. Wonderful. Wonderful. So you talk about we always ask your first 30 days. So I always remind people, my first 60 days after being laid off, I wrote on the floor, crying, upset, et cetera, et cetera. What did you do your first 30 days? So we get fired. It's a shock to our system. What did we do the next day? Were we still crying? What was happening?
The next day, I filed for unemployment. The first day I cried. And then I thought, okay, Samantha, are we going to have a pity party, or are we going to you say you want to live in your purpose. You've been saying this I've been talking about being a business owner for several years. So I was like, girl, we're just going to be afraid and we're going to move forward. I remember that now during this time, I have this home. And then I thought I'm going to leave where I grew up and I'm going to get an apartment in another city because that paycheck was paychecking. And so I said, you're not going to have an opportunity to do this again. So I was living in a whole nother state. So I was paying for a rent and a mortgage. I said, I need to figure out how to break this lease and go back home because I wasn't renting out my house or anything like that. I need to file for unemployment. Did that the next day. And Kamika, the biggest thing I did is I called my doctor and I told him, I said, somebody broke into my apartment and stole everything, including all of my insulin, because I was panicked about how am I going to get my insulin? Because as a diabetic, type 1, not type 2.
Yeah.
As a juvenile diabetic, you cannot make, there is no maybe you can do this, maybe don't eat. You will not make it. There's nothing you could do. You need your insulin and you need to check your blood sugar. So I told my doctor that I got robbed. And I said, I need a 90-day supply of everything that I can get. And I had him send a prescription right away to the pharmacist, and I went to go get insulin. So the next day was all about unemployment and how am I going to get insulin to make it for the next 90 days.
So you went into survival mode. Like, I don't have time to cry, pity, all this other stuff. Let me start taking care of business. When did you start feeling the feelings?
I don't think I've stopped feeling them, Kamika, I think I was fired in March of 2025, and what are we in January now of 2026? Hey, it's messy. It's a little, I just know that when I'm afraid, what do they say? What was the saying? When you're heartbroken, afraid, and uh cold or something, you do your best. I'm all about that. Every time I'm broke, I'm undefeated. Every time I'm in a corner, woo, check me out next year, because I told a boyfriend once, Kamika, that every time we go through a breakup, I get paid more money the next 2 years. So I was upset. I was upset. I'm reformed now, forgiveness and all of that, peace and love. But you know,
I think that's such an interesting approach. So when did you decide that you weren't going to go back to corporate? Because I hear so many stories of, okay, I was fired on a Tuesday, I started applying for jobs on a Wednesday. Did we start ever applying for another corporate job, or did you have your mind made up that entrepreneurship was now the route?
when I got my first client about 30 days later, I think I had made up my mind. And I also, in the feelings that you asked about, I'm also at a place now where I don't want to be there so bad. I don't like it. I don't want to be there. I know what I want. And I'm concerned, actually, that if I don't want to be somewhere, I'm probably not going to do well, actually. And I'm not afraid to say that anymore. And also, I know now that I have my own receipts for myself and I've seen the work I do. One of the thing is, after coaching students and also family members for years, people come back to me and tell me, I did negotiate my salary well. Thank you. I used your template. I got hired here, there. So I was starting to see my own quick wins and receipts. And so I know I'm good at what I do. And that's when I decided I don't want to do this other stuff. I don't want to do it. And because I don't want to do it, I don't have to. And I think that's an opportunity I've allowed for myself. So probably when I got my first clients.
So you decided to go headfirst into entrepreneurship and not apply to jobs. Why?
I wouldn't say head first. So Kamika, what people don't know is that I have 6 different websites I've built over 10 years. I've I didn't go to college. I did my undergrad in cybersecurity because I started out as a security guard who had graduated high school with a 1.9 GPA, failed out of community college twice, used up all the free grants, and I only started to graduate and get the degrees when I had to pay for it.
Mm,
I mean, I had a history kind of failing forward, which is why I love fail forward coaching.
shout out.
And okay, so yeah, I didn't at this time. And mind you, the other thing is, before getting into Microsoft, when I was at Amazon, I had a bachelor's degree. I had this fail forward situation, which was going well. But before I got into Microsoft, my mindset was, you want to get a house. You couldn't tell me anything about getting a house. I'm not saying that's great now, but at the time, I love my house. I'm happy. But I wasn't thinking I want to do well at Microsoft. I want to climb the ladder. When I was at Amazon, I thought I might want to be a big tech CEO. That 4 or 5 years as an FTE there, that dream changed. And I didn't know what I thought about corporate anymore. So I don't actually believe that corporate is for me right now. Now, the door's not closed, but I want to go somewhere where I can really be me. Part of what I love being as a business owner is I don't have to go through a communications team when I send out an email. And that's why you're seeing what I wanted to say, you know? And I don't have to worry about optics. I do, but I get to worry about the optics I want to worry about when I produce a video. So I get to fail the way I want to fail. And I don't have to hurry up and turn it around in a month, because then it'll be a performance issue. So there's things that I'm just not interested anymore in corporate. And I think I can figure it out my way. And I think I'm as in J. Cole says, there's beauty in the struggle, right? I'm enjoying my struggle right now. I know some days there's going to be days where I'm like, wow, that was exciting that you didn't know what you were going to do, girl, but you figured it out.
I'm glad you're enjoying your struggle. I will say for me personally, and you even saying like, oh, you graduated with a 1.9. I actually graduated with honors and stuff in my freshman year. I had a 1.8 GPA, and I always tell my students when I do my test prep business, how you start doesn't matter. It's always about how you finish. And I think right now it's about how can we finish our corporate and social journey through all this tumultuous times. Because I, like you, I've felt up a lot. Like, but in the moment, it does not feel good. In the moment, it's like, pull me up out of this. So to hear you say that you're enjoying your struggle is so profound to me right now because I think my biggest my biggest challenge is, we don't have those high paying paychecks anymore. And to hear you say, "Oh, I had a mortgage and I had rent," like we was getting paid, right, Samantha? Listen, call it what it is. We was getting paid, right? How are you dealing with the change of income, which equates to a change of lifestyle? How are you managing that?
Ooh, that's a good question. So there's some things I've definitely cut off. For example, this is probably going to be the first year of my life I haven't taken any trips that involve a plane or uh, my grandma wants to go to the ocean with the dogs, and I'm like, Grandma, we might have to do half and half. Also, I used to be the person they tell you not to be, where I'm like, oh, it's on me. You go ahead. You know what I mean? Don't do that anymore. So the other thing is, as a business owner, Kamika, I'm wondering, there's this person, I forget his name, Marcus something, and he has this show called The Fixer. It's similar to Shark Tank. And they always say, if you don't know your numbers, you're not doing well in business. And I think what they don't talk about, the struggle part, is first time business owners are usually using their personal bank account. They say never commingle your personal with your business. But as a first year business owner, you're like, how do you do that? Everything is personal. And then I'm trying to get a business bank account. I'm trying to establish business credit, all the stuff you have to do. So I just take that day by day. I would say the biggest thing is, Samantha, we're not going on trips. We're not doing extra stuff. I also have started doing things like, I was the person where I'm like, for every event, it's a new outfit. Every event, my shoes out of control, clothes out of control. I came home to the mortgage home and looked at my closet and I said, Samantha, we're going to have to shop in your closet seriously instead of talking about it. So, and also cut down on the DoorDash and the Uber Eats, go to the grocery store.
Girl, there is food at the house. I'm famous for saying that. I was saying that when I was working. There is food at the house. I hate paying fees. I think it's like a scam.
Yeah. And a current struggle, I'm a person who doesn't believe, I haven't done well with, I'm the lady that's like, no debt, right? Like, we're not going to do, when I thought about business ownership, I didn't think of let's raise capital. That sounds crazy to me. For me, not for everybody, but for me, I don't like taking out loans. I don't want to do any of that. And that, but then you hear all these different opinions and all this outside noise, and you're trying to figure out what works for you. So I'm currently now in a place where I'm thinking, you're doing well, but you need help. You're getting to the point where you might miss an email. We can't do that. And so how do we hire for help and do all those things? So I'm still, that's a day by day basis. I would just say the short answer is I am trying to be as frugal as I possibly could be.
You better than me. I'm a true April Aries, okay? I'm still taking trips. Now I'm not riding first class, okay? I done lost my status on Delta, okay? I need my status back. Someone gift me gold status, please, at least. I'm in the lowly silver, but like I'm still like, I don't want to say I'm out here being like frivolous and like wilding out, but I'm still planning, like I got to figure out how I'm gonna make this happen. But you said something I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs think about is that foundation year of having to build everything. There are costs to everything. It makes me sad. And I have business credit because lucky for me, I've had my business for over 10 years. I already had established the bank accounts, credit, all this other stuff. But every time I have to pay for something within the business, I cringe and cry just a little bit You know what I'm saying? So it's something that we don't talk about a lot as entrepreneurs, the cost of running business when you first start out, because you're not going to see a ton of money. Now, you say you got your first client within 30 days of being let go. Let's talk about that partnership. Like, how did that come about, and how did that even happen? And how's it going now?
Yeah. So I got my alma mater is the University of Washington. I am a Washington State, not Washington, D.C. Girly, and I'm proud of it. So this is what I tell my clients that I coach and the students that I coach, which is this is where your networks, because I've never seen my network for me so much. And the main thing is I write an announcement on LinkedIn saying, I've been let go. Don't feel sorry for me, because that's not a compliment for me though. And I'm starting a new business. This is going to be what I'm doing moving forward. So watch my journey. And sure enough, one of the people that I went to graduate school with, who I happened to mention years ago, maybe once or twice, we weren't best friends. I don't even think we had each other's phone numbers, but I had mentioned to this person, I said, I'm thinking about starting my own business after a day where I was working. I had a full day of work that day. Work was horrible. And then I was doing night classes full time. So I drive up to the Seattle campus at UW after being at South Lake Union in Seattle for Amazon all day. And I'm telling her how much I hate my job and I hate corporate America and I want to start my own business. And she, on the side, ran small business consultancy. Fast forward to 5 years later, guess who's the head of student outreach
Hmm.
at the school?
Mm.
And then tell somebody, and I might not have her title correct, but she has something. This person is the reason I got my client, is what I'm trying to say. She's got a nice title. I might not be giving her justice or saying the title wrong. So thank you for your patience there if you watch this. But Susan, shout out. But anyways, yeah, it was my network. And then sure enough, I also had a lot of people that I worked with who I had helped internally at these companies who now were being laid off. We're trying to get another job. And so outside of my first standing client, that university, which I never thought about universities, I wanted to just do virtual coaching. I never thought about working with schools. But I had a discovery call, which went well. And that's how my first client, it was my networks. Somebody saw a social media post and DM'd me, and I DM'd them back.
I love it. So tell us about your business.
Inside the Cubicle career coaching and consulting firm is here to help people get unstuck in their careers. It's here to help people recognize their power. And essentially, our mission is to help you stop leaving your future up to somebody else's discernment and for you to take control of it. And so we want to get into other schools. We're also having talks with the housing authority, how to introduce felons back into the job market, because we're here to help you dominate your career and recognize your strengths. And so we focus on doing virtual one-on-one coaching, but when we go to organizations and other businesses, we also help you understand how to articulate the skill set and the strengths that you have so that you can really dominate that job market as well as negotiate successfully, because people aren't negotiating, and negotiation is a life skill. Why not start at the job that you just got an offer for?
So currently, how many clients do you have?
We have 4 clients and we're in a lot of talks right now. So we have 4 standing clients, but we also do virtual coaching.
Okay. How confident do you feel in your business and the success and for it to be successful in 2026?
Extremely. And I'm glad that you asked that question, because I've just decided in the last couple of weeks as conversations have been happening, my question for myself is, Samantha, you wanted this house so bad. You wanted to pay off your car, and you wanted this expensive French bulldog. Barry the Bulldog, shout out, love him. Would you let it all go except for Barry? Yes. That's how confident I am. If I had to sell my house and go live with my mom today and give away my car to bet on me and fully invest in my business, would I do that over going back to Netflix or the other people that may or may not be in my LinkedIn DMs? Yes. That's how confident I am.
Where did that confidence come from?
Working on my relationship with myself and trusting myself and really giving myself an opportunity to really love me. And I think that we all, I think I've thought I've loved me before, but it's been some internal inner work that partly involves therapy, partly doesn't. Just really talking to myself in the mirror and before I go to sleep when I'm laying in my bed to really have a real honest conversation with me.
So, what was the last honest conversation? How did it go with yourself?
Oh, Kamika, we don't have enough time for that, and I don't
Oh,
know
we
if I
do,
say all
girl.
of that on camera.
We got
Well,
time.
listen, something I've been doing consistently for the past minimum of 6 months, give or take. But when I go to sleep, I truly do tell myself two things. I say, Samantha, I love you. And I mean it. I'm laying in my bed right before I'm going to close my eyes because it allows me to be consistent if I do it this way. There can't be pressure and I have to do all this stuff. I need to be laying in my bed and I close my eyes and I say, Samantha, I love you. And I would never leave you. I would never turn my back on you. I say that every night. And then, depending on where my mind is that day, I will get specific about the goals I have for my life. That includes business, that includes my health, that includes relationships, that includes romantic stuff, that includes all sorts of stuff. Finances, my dream car, because that hasn't changed. So, and the other thing too is I like my portfolio. I've learned to really be proud of myself. I like my personal portfolio of being able to start or leave relationships, being able to start or leave jobs, being able to get to places where it didn't 1.9 high school GPA, fired from McDonald's, fired from your first job at the ice skating rink because you don't show up on time because they're not paying you right,
Mm.
to Microsoft. And then to having relationships with people that reach out to me, I treasure those. And those are my wins that enable me to trust myself and really believe in myself and know I can show up for me.
I love that. I don't think that we as Black women, especially, think about the courage that it takes to trust yourself during this time. Because why I really wanted you to come on and tell your story is, people doubt themselves from being laid off. And when people get fired, they definitely doubt themselves because you feel like you're inadequate and you're not enough. And I love how you have like this profound self knowing that, you know what, I am not broken. I can do this. I still bring worth in so many other areas of my life. And just because somebody else didn't recognize it doesn't mean that I'm not worthy, which is why I really want you to come on and tell your story. So I'm so grateful for you for coming on and coming into the sanctuary to tell your story. Where can the people find you?
They can find me at insidethecubicle.com. And they can also find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on stan.store/at insidethecubicle.com and also TikTok on insidethecubicle.com, where I'm giving you free tips and tricks to help you dominate your career. And Kamika, I also just want to add, when we worked together at the Blacks at Microsoft's employee resource group, I don't know if you remember, but I knew that I needed to connect with you because I truly believed that you could add value to me and that our relationship would be valuable selfishly to me. And I don't think this is a coincidence at all. And it has been a pleasure to be a part of each other's journeys in my heart.
Oh, thanks for saying that, Samantha. I actually do remember our talk. And I remember you were like, girl, like, how are you navigating? You were asking me all these questions. And I kept saying, girl, I do not have this figured out. I'm very transparent when I have these conversations. But one thing I do remember from our conversation was us talking about the value of community. And, we have to lean on each other. You cannot do this in isolation. You have to communicate to people what you need, et cetera, et cetera. So, I just think it's such a full circle moment for us to come back and have this conversation today. I did not ask you, how do you want the community to save you, support, amplify, validate, elevate?
Yes, thank you so much. Listen, community, I want to speak to your schools. I want to speak to your students, the students that have a 1.9 GPA like me. I want to speak to the people, the felons that are trying to get back in there and get back on track. But the way the system is set up, it's not set up for that. I want to speak to the people at the housing authority. I want to speak to the people at WorkSource with unemployment who are trying to get a job. And what I can guarantee you is that I will transform their mindset to move them forward to get to the money. Come on. So reach out to hello@insidethecubicle.com, and I would love to book a free consultation because I want to see what are your priorities in the community that we want to serve.
I love it. So thank you, Samantha, for coming on today. I'm so happy that you are exuding this joy in this journey. And you do not look like anything you've been through, girl. You look good, okay? And I'm just happy for you. I really am.
Thank you, Kamika. I'm just as excited for you. I am following everything, and I expect my friends and family to support me at Inside the Cubicle. And please subscribe to Black Women Will Save Black Women podcast, because why wouldn't you?
Thank you. Listen, she already done dropped the ending for me. I love it. Thanks, Sam. All right, y'all. So this week's SAVE strategy, we're going to focus on the E for elevate. Elevate how you move through your life. Elevate how you listen to your body. Elevate the way you think about rest. If you're anything like me, you know what it's like to run at 1,000,000 miles per hour, pushing, producing, holding it all together until your body finally taps out. And then when that break comes, the trip, the getaway, the pause you've been waiting for, and you're so exhausted that you can't even enjoy it, and understanding that is not rest, you're recovering from burnout, I really want you to focus on elevating your awareness when those things are occurring. Don't hit those points. Notice when you're speeding up instead of slowing down. Notice when you're earning rest instead of honoring it. Rest shouldn't be something you collapse into. It should be something you arrive at. And elevating your life doesn't mean doing more. Sometimes it means doing less. Okay, y'all, that's this week's SAVE strategy. As always, like, subscribe, follow Black Women Will Save Black Women wherever you get your podcast. We're on YouTube. Shout out to Sam for giving us that shout out. Follow Black Women Will Save on all social media platforms. You can follow me at Kamika T. Dillard on Instagram and Miss KT Dillard on TikTok. Support, amplify, validate, elevate. That's how we save each other. And never forget that Black women will save Black women. I'm your host, Kamika Dillard. Thank you.